This is how you create realistic looking Roblox GFX in Blender. Let's begin. Okay, to begin, you're gonna have to create the uniforms. So I have a little module here with a bunch of uniforms, but I would only suggest selecting about 4 to 5 actual uniforms that you'll use in the GFX. That way it doesn't take forever to export and to set up in Blender. So just select ones that look unique that would fit well. Okay, once you have your selection done, you want to create a folder that will be housing all of these uniforms. That way when you export, it will be nice and organized. So just create folders with each of the uniforms you're going to export. Then what you want to do is you want to go into the character and select any of the accessories you want to export. So I'm going to export this hat, export as OBJ, find the folder, this is the private, just name this hat. Then I would also recommend grouping this into a folder just to make sure it's organized and the textures won't overlap. Then you can just delete that. Just do this for each part. I'll do this for the bag now. Then once you go through all your accessories, you'll have the base mesh. Then just export the entire thing and just name it how you want. And just repeat this process for each of these characters. Also, if you want to import UGC from the catalog into the studio, what you can do is just go into Roblox, copy the asset ID, which is right here, then go back into Studio, bring up the command bar, then just type in this script and then paste your asset ID right here. Then click run and it should spawn in. Here it is. Just copy the accessory, just paste into. Then you can just do the same thing, the same export as you did with other accessories. Then yeah, that's how you can add in custom UGC and hair. For some reason, my mic stopped working, so I'll be narrating over this now. For this tutorial, I will be using the Roblox starter rigs, which are free. Now, once you download them, open up Blender. After that, drag in the rig and click on append. Then select the starter block cube rig collection. Now we can start applying the uniform. For the main texture, select the uniform that you exported. We'll probably have diff 1 or diffusion 1 at the end, and it should look something like this. Now to import the hats, just go over to the import settings and click on OBJ. Then select the hat or accessory that you want imported. If it's not at the world origin, select the imported hat, go into edit mode, then do Ctrl A to select everything, and then set the transform to 0, and you should see it. It may need to be resized or rotated as well. Now to get the hat to stick to the head, what you need to do is select the hat, go into the constraints tab, and add a child of constraint. Then select the rig as the target and the head as the bone. Also, to change the settings of the rig, go into pose mode and select the gear icon. I recommend setting the subdivisions to 0 for the classic Roblox look. Now you want to click on this duplicate button for each character uniform, and then Ctrl L to link the materials to each body part. That way, each new uniform doesn't override the old one. Now, repeat this process for every accessory for each character. For weapon models, I got mine from Sketchfab. Just search up what weapon you want, then download it as a GLB file. I also tend to stretch out the limbs a little to make the proportions look a little bit nicer. It also helps with posing. To get a custom face on the rig, just go into the face texture and select anything from the Roblox HD faces that came with the rig. So I start by getting a couple references, then I go on Sketchfab to find a good little scene that I can use. What I'm looking for is a nice street scene that doesn't look too modern, and that will have some interesting points of interest that will help create the scene. So I spent a while doing that, a long time doing that. Then I found this one which was pretty good, so I import it into Blender. Then I clean it up a little bit, rotate it and scale it so it fits better. I find the best way to scale it is just to put a character next to a door and just size it that way. Then once I'm done with that, I'm gonna start on the composition of the scene. So I add in a camera and position it where I think would look the best. Then I set up the characters in just some rough positions. Nothing final right now, just so I can get a layout of the scene a little bit better. Make sure to break up their position a little bit. Make sure it's not so perfect, unless they're, marching or something. Then I start adding in some lights. I use some point lights in the street lamps. Just put one in each lamp for now, and you can go back and tweak the settings to fit the lighting a little bit better. Also set the world lighting to 0 so nothing influences, so it's completely dark night. Then once the street lamps look good enough, I look for a background image that I can throw in on a plane. I like having one that has a moon on it just to add a little bit of interest to the background. Then what I typically do is plug the color into the emission so it stands out a little bit better. Then after that, I just go in and tweak the lights a little bit more until I get something that looks good. Now you can select all the lights and press Alt when clicking on the power, so it influences all of them at once. But once I think the scene looks good, I'll move on to adding a volume. Now this volume is just a cube with a volume scatter node with the density set very low. This makes the lights look good and just adds in some nice little fog effects. Then I add in some area lights to get some interesting looking reflections on the little puddle areas. Make sure you disable the camera and the diffuse as well as the volume scatter so it doesn't influence the fog or anything, just so it influences the reflections a little bit. Just add some visual interest. Then I just add some area lights around the scene to just get some nice little backlighting. Now I start posing, and for posing you don't want it to look super rigid. You want it to flow a little bit as if they were actually moving and such. It's important to give each character a unique pose just so it looks a little bit more natural. So I'll have some of them walking, some of them reloading, some of them shooting and whatnot. And the posing isn't that complicated. Just move the limbs around so they're just not perfectly centered or anything. If you really wanted to, you could just copy and paste the poses to each character and just tweak it slightly. That would make it a lot faster. Also for posing, if a limb's not directly facing the camera, you can detach it to make the pose look a little bit better because the camera won't see that it's detached. And as long as it works, it works. So yeah. Then I want this guy to be shooting. So I just pose him how I would do normally. You can see in the background, there's a nice little light shining onto the musket, which creates a nice little rim light. Now to create the actual gunshot, I will just add in a point light, make it very bright, and decrease the temperature a little bit to create a little orangish glow. Then I find a gunshot overlay. It's hard to find a good one. If you can, I would recommend getting one that's already transparent, or you can find one with a black background and just edit it out. So that's what I go ahead and do. Now the texture itself doesn't need to be that high quality because it'll be overblown, so you won't see the texture that well. So I just position it around the barrel, set the emission pretty high, and make sure it faces the camera somewhat so it doesn't look like a plane directly. And then I just do the same thing with another guy, change the texture a little bit with the same principle, and just creates a nice little easy gunshot effect. Then I go ahead and finish the posing for the rest of the people. Also, I've been thinking about making a Discord for the YouTube community in which you can suggest video ideas and talk about things, so let me know if that sounds interesting. Then I just add in some more characters to break up the viewing angles, add some more interest to it. I don't know a whole lot about composition, but yeah. Just add some more characters to fill out the background a little bit more. Hey, if you're finding this video helpful, then you should subscribe, because a very small number of people who watch my videos actually do subscribe, so you should subscribe. Can you subscribe? Okay, goodbye. Then I just go in and tweak the lighting a bit more, add in some custom area lights and such. Then I give the officer a guy a sword and add some rim lights to that to make it look pretty cool. And that's the basic scene composition down. Now here I'm using a custom plugin called Easy Fog 2. Just add some nice little custom smoke and fog presets that I like using. I typically add a dense one at the feet just so it creates some nice little visual interest, as if it's a smoky battlefield or something. Then I go in and tweak the render settings. These are the final ones I use in the end. Make sure to set the color management to filmic and medium high contrast. Then just render it a bit. Oh yeah, and then I add in some depth of field to the camera just to blur out the background a little bit more and focus on that one guy that's walking. Then I render it out again, tweak the settings again. Just repeat the process until I have something that I think looks good. Then I go into the compositing tab, then just add in a simple glare node, tweak the settings a little bit, decrease the threshold. Next I add in a lens distortion, just creates a nice little chromatic aberration to the edges. I think it looks pretty nice. Just don't go over the top with these effects. Then I do my little final render, and I think it looks good enough. Then I export it so I can edit it in my photo editing software, which is Photopea, because I can't afford Photoshop. Okay, so first, what I do is duplicate this layer, set this to screen, decrease the fill to like about 30, and add a little bit of Gaussian blur to this. Only about 5 pixels is good. Then what I do is I drag on a little bit of lens dirt like this, just scale it up so it fits the image. Then set this layer to screen, set the fill to like 75 or something, add in a raster mask, then just go over this completely. Set the opacity to about 50% and the flow to 50%, make the hardness 0, then just go over all of the light areas with a white brush. just so it creates a little realistic camera effect, casting up little particles in the filter. Okay, once you do that, just add in a curves adjustment layer. And for this one, just bring it down a little bit here. So it adds a little bit more contrast. To be a little subtle, something like that's fine. Then what you want to do is select all of these layers, duplicate them, then merge these layers. That way we can add a camera raw filter that affects all of them. Then you can just disable all those. You can put them in a folder if you really want to. Just hide that. Now we have this. Make sure you set this to a smart object. Then you can go in and we're gonna add in a camera raw. And the basic principles for the camera raw filter is just increase or decrease these sliders until you get something that looks pretty good. But be careful that you don't completely crunch this image by like setting it too high. You want to have some variation. You don't want the blacks to be completely destroyed, the whites to be completely overexposed or anything like that. So just be gradual in your changes. I want this texture to be a little bit cool feeling, so I'll just decrease this. Then you can go into vibrance. I tend to set this pretty high. I'm actually going to decrease the saturation so that it gets a nice little washed out look. Then just increase the texture and the clarity a little bit. And yeah, then once you're done with that, you can just add a sharpen effect. This just helps bring out those edges a little bit more. Then what I typically do next is add in a film grain. Now you can just search up film grain in Google and you'll probably find a good one. For this, you want to set it to overlay, then decrease the fill a lot, just so it's a little bit more subtle. This adds a nice little grungy camera look that I think looks pretty nice. Then add in just a nice little vignette. You can find one on Google pretty easily. Just decrease the opacity a little bit. Something like this will do. Then add in a color lookup adjustment layer. And what I typically do is add in a Fusion 88. That makes the scene look really nice and cool. Then just decrease this fill a lot so it's not overbearing or anything. Say about 35 is good. Then for the final effect, I'm just gonna add in just one more curves adjustment layer. For this, just increase the brightness a little bit, bring this down a little bit. And there you go. This is the before, this is the after. Again, tweak all of these settings because your scene might be different, so don't copy exactly what I did.